All right, hey, everybody, how's it going? See, it's Sunday night. It's been a really nice weekend. The weather's been real nice here in Rhode Island. We've kind of been just taking it easy and chilling out. Um, I think we have a few things going on this week that we're kind of excited about, um, and we'll see what else happens. You got anything on your mind? No. Okay, so the that um, last time we were here, we talked about an experience that I had when um, right before I came off the street and I had overdosed in a car. Um, and it got me thinking about some other people that had suffered um, with mental illness, especially like depression and major depressive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and dual diagnoses um, mental illness and addiction or alcoholism. Um, so when I was about 17 or 18, I played with a hardcore band. It was right at the end of punk rock, about 88 or 89, and
Pocket full of daisies.
Pocket Full of Dead, it was. And we used to play in this field in Westport, Mass. Um, a buddy of ours had owned, his family had owned a house out there with a lot of land out in Westport. Actually, it wasn't too far from the haunted house in Westport, Massachusetts. Incidentally, they knocked that down. It used to be on a burial ground. It's pretty wild.
Really?
So let me get way off track. So Justin was a real cool kid. He was about 19 years old. He was real handsome. He had long hair, kind of before the rest of us. And he was just a great guy. He used to come out to all the shows that we did, and we played in his field. And we used to have big parties, and it was a blast. It was one of the better times of my life, you know. So I actually had met my ex-wife, and let me see, we had did a little show in the field, broke some strings, didn't have any extra strings, had to leave early, and we all kind of parted ways at that point. Um, Justin went in his house and did his thing, and we went back to a friend's house to stay the night. That night, Justin had called me. Was around midnight or so, and he was really depressed. He was crying. He was distraught over a girl, actually, who he liked, and the girl didn't like him. And I think we all kind of go through that when we're growing up. Puppy love and things like that. And sometimes the other person doesn't feel the way that you think you feel, and in the heat of the moment, it feels like the world's coming to an end, and you just don't know what else to do. You've reached the end of your mental rope, and you just want the pain to end. And I think that's where Justin was. So he called me up, and he's crying, and we're talking, and he's telling me about the girl, and stayed on the phone with him for quite some time, and tried to encourage him. I tried to tell him everything was going to be okay, but I'm really tired. I've got to go. I'll check on you first thing in the morning, I promise. And we got off the phone. I woke up the next morning about 7:30. I think I remember the time, actually. It was about 7:30. And I called Justin's house, and his mom answered. And I said, "Hi, Mom, is Justin around?" And she said, "Who's this?" And I gave her my name. She remembered me, and she had told me that Justin had taken a bottle of aspirin and didn't wake up. So that was my first loss that I cared about the person, where it hurt, and I didn't understand it, and I was very confused at the time. And
First person you lost to suicide.
yeah, and even though like I had struggled my whole life with self-harm and addiction and suicide attempts, um, Justin dying was like getting hit in the head with a brick. Um, and I saw the pain that it had caused. He had broken his mother. Him committing suicide had broken his mother and his family. They were just um, they weren't the same, of course, after that. Um, anyway, we went to Justin's wake, and we were all actually really upset because, like I said, Justin had really long hair. He was a handsome kid, and they cut his hair off like in a bowl cut, and put him in the coffin like that, and we were all just really upset that they had done that to him. But that was my first person I cared about that I had lost, and after that, people just started dropping like flies because of the heroin epidemic that had really blanketed my town and surrounding areas like Providence, New York City, all the big places where a lot of the dope came in, and things just got really bad. So. Uh,
So you can relate to where Justin was at in his head.
Well, yeah, I've been there. Actually, I've been there so many times that, um, and it's only by the grace of God that I've been relieved of those feelings. Those feelings have been removed. God removed those terrible, awful feelings. I still get depressed. I still get confused at times, especially having some brain injury. Um, but I'm not hopeless. Uh, and I know now that even if things get difficult, this too shall pass. And that was something that Justin couldn't wrap his head around. He didn't think that pain was going to pass, and I can relate to that feeling, of the pain just not ever ending. Um, and it's just a terrible, terrible, awful place to be. Sharon suffers from some of the same feelings that I'm describing. Do you want to talk about any of that?
I have major depressive disorder, PTSD. This time, yeah. A nice little basket of stuff.
During her lady time, she gets a bit more emotional than usual. She's very sensitive. She's super smart, scary, super smart. And I think the scary, super smart ones are the most sensitive. Um, so it just takes some encouragement and sometimes some space and sometimes no space. Sometimes she just needs to be held. Sometimes that's what we all need. And I wish that I could have provided more for Justin, and I always carried around a great deal of guilt, because of that. So the heroin epidemic got really bad in our town, and people just started overdosing and dropping dead, like crazy. We were just losing friends left and right. So it became more of a familiar thing to lose people that I knew, and to go to their wakes and their funerals, and really, not to sound cold or callous, but not be affected by it.
You were desensitized to it, but you were also using,
Well, yeah,
and that makes you kind of numb.
Numb.
Yeah.
to just about anything. Um, when my mother died, which was several years after Justin, that completely mentally broke me. And my drug use hit an all-time high, and it just kept getting worse and stayed like that until 2 years ago. That there's a way out of a feeling like that, and it's reaching out, and he did reach out, and the reason I carry a lot of guilt around is because he reached out, and I don't think I gave it enough, because if I had, maybe he would still be here. So knowing those feelings, I have a better understanding of how my mother felt when I was going through things, or my step-up dad, how he felt finding me in these situations that were, finding me hanging, or finding me all cut up, or intoxicated. I mean, it's a number of things. When my marriage dissolved and I was staying with him right towards the end before I left Massachusetts, he would come home from his job and put his finger under my nose to make sure I was still breathing. Now, that's a terrible legacy to leave your dad. And he and I have a real good relationship these days. We talk a lot, and it's real good stuff. And I go out of my way to make sure that I don't bring anything negative to his world anymore, because to me, well, what I did was just a little too much. And the relationship that my dad and I have now is just perfect the way it is. So that's the way we leave it. And if I struggle or something like that, he's aware of that, but I'm not gonna dump those things on him. We affect the people that love us, and even if we don't realize it, they hurt for us. I never really knew how important I was until recently, when people started to reach out to me, and my dad started to call my phone. And I was blessed and lucky enough to find Sharon and build a friendship with her before we built on that relationship. This time around, I seem to be doing things the right way, and that's keeping the dope down, and staying on my medication. I tell my friend all the time, take your medication on time. Don't forget your medication. I'm always yelling at him about it. I'm like, medication Nazi. I believe that if you miss medication, your mind's going to go a little bit off. I know if when I used to miss my medication, I didn't think right. I didn't act right, and I didn't feel right. So I'm a big medication Nazi. Take your meds as prescribed. I won't drink on my medication, and I definitely won't do drugs on medication. It's just the meds won't work, and you'll find yourself in the same amount of pain that you were before, and you just don't have to feel that way. There's some real easy coping skills that I know that I can't forget. Take my medication. Don't use drugs. Don't drink alcohol, and reach out if I need to. Those are 3 easy rules that I follow. If I don't practice those, and I'm having a hard time, I don't get better. I remain sick, and I don't want to be sick anymore. I spent my whole life being sick by my own hand, and I don't have to do that, and you don't either. And that's my message I wanted to give you tonight. Anything you want to say?
I think that was well said.
So I appreciate y'all hanging out and listening to me ramble. I wish all of you well. God bless, and we'll see you soon.